Hi, I'm certified life coach Dewan J of the High Vibrations Only platform. What you're about to watch is an open coaching session that was actually filmed on TikTok. I pray that the information in the video that you're about to watch will inform, inspire, and ignite you to become the best version of yourself. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so that you're abreast of all future content coming from me. I'll see you in there. Let's go. Today, I am excited to get part two, get to the conclusion of this. A quick recap. So I keep getting sick, but okay. I am excited to continue with the seasons. Right. For those of y'all who missed last Saturday, what we talked about was we used Beauty and the Beast as a lesson teacher, as a teacher, as an experience in life to teach us 10 things. Now, these 10 things were to be a good host. It's easy to get a misunderstanding, to be open to change, that real beauty is on the inside, know when to say no. Persistence is key. Be humble, surprise and delight, and embrace what is unique about you. Now, these things are prerequisites to set you up. These things are the prerequisites. These things are self-love things. These things are what you should be working on during your winter season. And we talked about how in the winter season, a lot of people like to duck and hide. A lot of people like to isolate. A lot of people like to focus on the things that are dying around them instead of what can be brought to life on the inside of them. A negative thought weighs, if thoughts could have a weight, a negative thought would weigh 17 times more than a positive thought. This is according to current psychologists. This is according to what we know about psychology and what we know about mass, gravity, and things of that nature. So negative thoughts weigh more. So in your winter season, we were encouraging you to focus on what can be resurrected. We were focused on what should be birthed. What should be created? What should be stirred up? What should be ignited on the inside of you during your winter season instead of focusing on the dead things? The air is a lot thinner. The air is a lot crisper during the winter season, which actually purifies detoxins. You notice that those that have allergies, the allergies aren't as active as they are in the wintertime. There's a purer sense of oxygen. And when we get to a place that we are igniting and we are creating and we are rebirthing and we are remembering who we are during our winter season, when the spring shows up, it is time for us to blossom. It is time for us to walk in the vibrational level that we're supposed to walk in. It is time for us to watch and show. In the springtime, it is the time where, because Valentine's Day is on the cusp of spring, we've gotten it wrong. We've expedited the timeline. So we think that spring is actually a place to fall in love, but spring is actually a time to walk in the fullness of self. This is going to stop you from interrupting or speeding up God's timeline, of the universe's timeline, of the timeline that you're supposed to be on in accordance with your purpose. Why is this important? This is important because a lot of us want the warm relationship in the spring. A lot of us want to be cuddled up in the spring. I have a relationship series available for purchase on my platform where I talk about the season for everything. And the springtime is where you blossom regardless if you're in a long-term relationship or not, because if you're with your person, you both should be growing individually as well as together, and this is how the house goes. So in the springtime, regardless if you're in this relationship or not, Lady Shine Poetry is in the building. Listen, if you guys are poetry fanatics, if you're an artist of any kind, musician, visual artist, if you're a mime, pick up Lady Shine Poetry and go to the house and they shine. On the second and fourth Wednesdays, on Sundays, she does writer's prompts where she'll give a prompt. and you're able to write or create in response to that prompt. Beautiful soul, beautiful platform, whom I love with all my soul. I will not leave you in bad hands. Pick her up, please, Meg. So in the springtime, regardless if you're in a long-term relationship or not, right? This is the time to express your individual growth. This is the time to teach your partner who you are. This is the time to teach potential suitors who you actually are. This is not the time to fall in love. And we talked about that last week, which brings us to now. What are you supposed to do in the summertime? Too many times I see, I'll be outside all summer long to what? You'll be lonely all winter because you're not cultivating anything. I'm going to be outside all winter long to what? You'll be lonely in the fall time because you're not displaying who you actually are. You've been so cooped up in the winter and you didn't do any work. So now there's no new you to show. You didn't put anything into birth or to cultivate anything. And as a result of that, there's no flowers to bloom because there were no seeds planted during the planting season. If you're waiting for the fall time to find love, you're behind the power curve. Fall was only nicknamed fall because the leaves fall off the trees. It's at that time that people or things are starting to die. What am I saying? What I'm saying is that in the fall time, the harvest has been reaped. In other words, all of the good people, all of the good persons, all of the good things that you want to attract have already been scooped up because fall is actually called harvest. So if you're starting to plant seeds in the fall time, then there's going to be nothing. You're going to be too late or too early for things to blossom in the spring. But a lot of us, it starts to get a little chilly outside. The fashion comes back and we want to layer up and we want to be cuddled up. We want to be in a place in which things are starting to heat up for us. But might I suggest and submit to you that instead of a hot boy or a hot girl summer, that this is the time to heat up your interest. The springtime is for attraction. The springtime is when you are doing your vetting process. And let me park here and say that we need to slow down our vetting process. This morning, the last couple of days, actually, in the morning lives, we've talked about the vetting process and why it goes awry. We talked about how noradrenaline and dopamine flood the frontal cortex of the brain, thus canceling out reasoning and logic. And here's where we end ourselves or find ourselves in a troublesome situation. Here's where we find ourselves going against our better judgment. Here's where we find ourselves setting ourselves up for another disappointment, another frustration. And we're doing this because we're chemically aligned to work against ourselves. And this is why it takes a conscious effort. I'm getting ready to blow y'all mind when I start to talk about the summertime. The summertime is actually the setup for your person. But when you're outside, when you're in the streets, when you are having a hot girl summer, hot boy summer, when you're packing on the girls' trips and the men's retreats and the things that are not focused on your love life, the things that are not focused on the things that you're supposed to be focused on, what you're actually doing is you are missing the boat. You're missing the bus. Whatever vehicle metaphor you want to use, you're missing it. Put this in a point. The heat is for applying adhesive. The heat is for applying adhesive. The purpose of summer is for you to begin to establish a routine. Here's the time where you start to find the shows. Here's the time where you start to, okay, we're going to do date nights on Tuesdays and Fridays. We're going to do date nights on Wednesday and Saturday. We're going to be in church on Sunday. We're going to chill in the house. We're going to cook together on Tuesdays. Here's where you start to set up these routines to find out consistency. Here's where you start to set up routines to figure out what works for you. Here's where, Sky, what's happening? Here's where you start to set these things up with your person. This is where we take the vacations. This is where we take the staycations. This is where we get to a place where we are beginning to weed out those that mean us no good, those that were intended to be a fun time, those that were intended to take our mind, to be a distraction away from our person. The summertime is where we start to dial in. The summertime is where we start to dial in on the person that is going to push us towards purpose. Because if we're not focused on what's pushing us towards purpose, then we are distracted by everything that's going to pull us away. It's not about the person with the most money. It's not about the person with the six-pack abs. It's not about the woman who can fill out the sundress the best. It's not about the toxic white-toed manicures that we see on the beach. It's not about who's in the gym and they're posting the best fitness progress photos, fellas. This is not about the woman that you're paying $14.99 a month who does not know you exist. This is not about the time or the person that you're with just because this is different than your last person. This is about you operating in purpose. The wintertime, we spend finding purpose. The springtime, we find attracting those friends and those relationships that are going to push us towards purpose. The people that are going to hold us accountable. The people that are going to comfort us when we need it. The people who know how to speak our love language. The people who know what needs to be said and how it needs to be said in order for me to respond effectively. The springtime is where we find and attract these types of people. And the summertime is where we start to zero in on this. The summertime is where we get the glue that's going to hold us together. We melt it down. And then we stick you and I together. We stick our friend groups together. Here's where we're starting to create the intimate and the private moments. Why is this important? This is important because in the summertime is where you can go on the picnics. The summertime is where you can go rent out the yacht. The summertime is where you can take the vacation to the Maldives. The summertime is where you're taking the trips to Dubai. Habibi, come to Dubai. Right? Here's where you're doing this. Why? Because in the wintertime, when we're together, we're going to need memories to hold us when things aren't so going so well. We're going to need things to hold us together, to remind myself that this is the person that I fell in love with, and it's going to automatically remind me to treat you with a level of respect. Here's where we need to hold on to when things aren't necessarily on the upswing in the relationship. We're holding on to the memories that we created in the summertime. The summertime is for growing together. I dated a woman once. I know, it happened. It happened. I was actually, I was dating. I did my thing one time, dated this woman once, and I was on book tour as we were dating, and I don't know what it is about women. I don't know what it is, but y'all are anointed to pack things. It is crazy where I can go with a small roll-on and maybe a backpack. This lady was so talented at packing. She had just in case. Mr. Rainbow, what's happening? She had just in case outfits for everything. What if it rains? What if we go out to dinner? What if we go dancing? Not only was the outfit in the suitcase, but the things to do her hair was in the suitcase. The shoes that she would wear with each dress was in the suitcase. What happens if we get stranded and we have to change a tire was in the suitcase. Everything was in this suitcase. Now, where we were, they had customary gifts, right? I was on the book tour, right? I had, backpack full of books. I had a suitcase and had space in there because we were only going for a couple of days. Now, this lady had like 2 bags or whatever, but when we got there, what's happening? When we got there, they had gifts for us, right? There was like these nice, like crystal, like glasses, and they came with, like a towel from the resort, and there was like an envelope and a card thanking us for our attendance and thanking us for the presentation. There were all these like little nice gifts, and there was a problem when it was time to leave. The problem was that she didn't have room in her suitcase for the gifts. She didn't have room in her suitcase for the gifts. Why is this important and why am I saying this to you? A lot of us in the summertime are busy packing just in case outfits, packing backup plans, packing what happens if this doesn't work out, that we don't have room for the gift when it actually, did you hear what I just said? If your suitcase is so full of just in case outfits, things that you'll never potentially need, that's nasty. That's nasty. If your suitcase is full of things that you don't actually need, when the actual gift arrives, you won't have room for it. This is why the wintertime is important. The wintertime is important because it's the time to clean out. It's the time to clean out the things that we don't need. It's the time to clean out and operate in a space of openness. So when the actual gift shows up, you might have room for it. Too many of us are looking for the right one, but we have a suitcase full of the wrong ones. And the most dangerous thing about this is that the wrong one is oftentimes a placeholder, but it occupies the space for the right one. Y'all don't want to talk about this right now. The summertime is where we collect numbers. The summertime is where we start to swipe right a lot. Looks good with the shirt off. Looks good. Looks good in this bikini. Looks good doing this thing. Looks good with the dog. Looks good at the dog park playing frisbee. Looks good here. But what we're doing is we're packing our suitcases full of just in cases. So when we go to a place and we encounter an actual gift, we're not ready. We're unprepared. Instead of focusing on who I'm with and what's necessary, I'm moving out of purpose. This looks like a backup plan. This looks like a just in case this doesn't work out. Might I submit to you that if you have a backup plan, then you're not completely sold out for the plan to work. So there's no wonder why we continue to be heartbroken. There's no wonder why we continue to be disgusted. There's no wonder why we continue to be frustrated. There's no wonder why we continue to miss the boat in love, because the truth of the matter is that because you have all of these backup plans in your suitcase and you're not sold out to the mission that you're currently on, you're actually robbing this person of who you are. And as a result of that, you're robbing. As a result of that, you're robbing yourself. Let me move. It's also here that I have to remind you that when you find that person, this is not a license to get lazy. This is not a license to get lazy. When oh my God, we work all winter and all spring for a summer body. We work all spring, all winter for a summer body. I want to look good in this two-piece, girl. I'm gonna be at the beach, man. You know what I mean? Need the six-pack popping. I need the muscles bulging. I'm gonna go ahead and eat right. I'm gonna go ahead and clean up. I'm gonna go ahead and fast. We work all winter, all spring for a summer body. And when we find our person, when we find somebody who has the potential to be the person that's going to push us towards purpose, once we find that person, we start to get lazy. We start to get lackadaisical. And I'm not just talking about in a physical sense. Catch the bar here. Once we find that person, we stop doing the things that makes us us. We stop working on our mental health. We stop working on clarity. We stop working on growth. We stop working on empathy. We stop working on understanding love languages. And as a result of that, things get sloppy. And then we're not happy. We're not happy because we come to a place where we start to work, or we stop to work on these things because we've gotten lackadaisical, because we've gotten what we came for. We've gotten what we were praying for. We've gotten what we fasted for. We've gotten what we were attempting to manifest. And as a result of that, our mind stops working. Our bodies stop working. And this is why several arguments are had across the world on a day-to-day basis. This is why several arguments are had, and you can look at the person and be like, you're literally not the person I fell in love with. Why? Because I've fallen in love with a person that was growth-minded. I've fallen in love with a person who was on purpose. I've fallen in love with a person that was in pursuit of greatness. I've fallen in love with a person that was solution oriented. I fell in love with a person who had a propensity to understand. I fell in love with a person that was patient. But the truth of the matter is that because I've stopped working, I'm unhappy with the reflection I see in the mirror. And as I take this out on my person, I take this out on my partner. I take this out because I'm not patient with myself, so I can't exercise it towards you. I don't exercise empathy towards myself, so I can't exercise it towards my person. Here's the time to pull it out. Here's the time where the iron has to sharpen the iron. Now I can pull out the photo of the memory that we created in the summertime. Hey, remember when we were in this shape? What's it going to take to get back there? You remember when you had this six pack, this moral and this mental and this spiritual six pack? Let's get back to there. Let's start praying together. Let's start reading together. Let's start conversing together. Let's plan date nights. Let's get to a place that we were back here. Because I was focused on you and not focused on the streets. I know. I have an intimate working knowledge of what it took you to get here. I can appreciate the fact that you're the person that I fell in love with. I can appreciate the fact that you were the person that I was looking for. And now because, we've gotten a little lax because the fall times happen and we're happy and we're putting on the happy weight. But is the happy weight going to be turned into muscle, or is it going to continue to weigh us down? Okay, let me move. We have to be careful because we have to be careful when we're having the hot summer. We have to be careful when we're having a hot summer because what we don't realize is that when we're having a hot girl or a hot boy summer, we are without covering. We're intentionally exposing ourselves to the general public. And what happens then? We get sunburned. We get disappointed. We get frustrated. We get broken down. We get disappointed. Right, Bo? We get disappointed. Anybody who's ever had a sunburn knows that this is not a pleasant feeling. Your skin is chapped. You don't want anybody to touch you. This is where trust issues come from. This is where abandonment issues come from. This is where separation issues come from because my skin is hurt because I've exposed myself to the sun for too long. I've exposed myself to the rays for too long. So now I don't want anybody to touch me because I'm afraid of it hurting. That is a bar. Daniela, what's happening? And truth of the matter is, I should have been focused on the person that's going to put the oil on my back. I should have been focused on the person that's going to put the sunscreen on my back to protect me, to cover me. But now because I don't want to be touched, because now trusting someone hurts. Now because getting too close to someone hurts. What else happens? The skin starts to crack. In other words, our deeper layers are exposed. Because we didn't do the work and because we were moving out of season, the things that are behind the mask that I put on social media, the things that are behind the mask of the Facebook post. Yeah, I saw you on Facebook speaking in tongues. But when you speak in English, you're cussing people out. Yeah, I saw you posting that Bible verse, but you're living by Deacon YFN Lucci. You made a commitment. I'm going to follow this 21-day plan, Dewan. I'm gonna post a Bible verse every day, Dewan. Yo, man, I'm just really trying to get in tune with God's word. And you're capping. But because somebody didn't cover your back, it puts exposure on the skin back there. And now the trust issues have gotten deeper. And because the skin is cracked, I can see what was actually beneath. All right, that got a little thick for somebody. We have to realize that sometimes we have to turn people down. Now, in the springtime, when you're collecting data and you're looking for potential mates, right? You collect these data and you start to weed people out. Hey, give them the Shark Tank treatment. Hey, I was looking for somebody that was consistent, persistent, patient, and passionate. And on this list, you didn't even meet half of it, and for that reason, I'm out. This doesn't have to be a discussion. This can be an informational conversation. This can be a one-way conversation because I have to get to the harvest. I have to get to the harvest. Sometimes people do this to us. And we feel, we go into our feelings, we get into our bag, we start to feel like we're not adequate enough. We start to feel as if we're not good enough. We start to feel as if things aren't going the way that I want them to go, and we start to question on whether or not we're good enough. But let me encourage you today that sometimes man's push and God's pull feel the same. Sometimes the pull of purpose and man pushing you away feel the same. Sometimes that friend backstabbing you and getting you out of that friend group, it feels like somebody's pushing you out, but actually it's universe, purpose, God pulling you in. We sometimes we're not rejected by people. Sometimes we're just rejected by the season. Because we're in the wrong season. If you pull up to the beach, bright and sunny day out here, and someone shows up in a raincoat with some galoshes, long walking raincoat, got the hat, got the rubber ducky and everything, you're going to look at this person like something's off. One of us is in the wrong season. Either I didn't read the weather forecast correctly, or this gentleman understood it correctly as well. One of us is in the wrong season. And oftentimes we take it personal. We take it personal when the season rejects us. Goddess of love, what's happening? When the season rejects us, we take it wrong. We take it personal. We take it as if it were a personal attack, and it's not. All things work together for you and don't happen to you. And I said that to say that if we're rejected by the season, here's the time to immediately put yourself into hibernation. Put yourself into a winter season where we start to unpack and figure out what went wrong here. Because the ultimate goal is to get to harvest. The ultimate goal is to make it to harvest. Harvest, put this in a point. Harvest is for healed hearts. Harvest is for healed hearts. Once your ex becomes to you, once you're no longer battling the trust issues, once you're no longer battling the insecurity issues, once you're no longer battling the issues that are plaguing you, once you're battling the things that no longer make you toxic, once you are battling the things and they become a testimony and not a continued test, now you're ready for harvest. What happens in the harvest? Long-term relationships, marriage, bigger business deals, bigger book deals, closing on the house, starting the business. Because I'm operating from a healed space, now I am qualified to reap the harvest. If I have holes in my bag and I go to reap the harvest, and the harvest is just as good as it not leaving in the first place. It's just as good as it not happening in the first place. The harvest is for healed hearts. What happens here? Sky contributing to the live goal. Thank you. When you're ready for the harvest, you're ready for the commitment. You're ready for the long-term relationship. You are ready for your person. Here's the season that you both should be operating in. right? Here's a season where, see, the winter time is where you did the work and hopefully that person was doing the work. The springtime is where you find each other. The summertime is where you build the bond, and the harvest is where you reap the benefit of the long-term relationship. Why? Because I've done the proper vetting. Why? Because I'm operating from a healed space and I'm not going to be triggered by anything that you say or do. Why? Because I've spent time getting to know you as a person and how it is that you operate as a person. The harvest is for healed hearts. I was talking to somebody, having a conversation, and I was explaining to them how, bless Daniela, let's go. Where are we going? Where are we going? Let's go. I appreciate you. The harvest is where I'm starting to find that groove. I'm starting to find my life. I'm starting to get to a place in which I can live, I can go, I can grow. I'm starting to get to a place where my person and I can start to pick out the house, and we're going to start to discuss children, if that's an option or not. We're going to discuss where are we settling, where are we putting our forever home. But I have to endure all of these other seasons. I have to traverse all of these other seasons. I have to go through all of these other seasons. And I was talking to someone, and I was telling them that what we don't realize is that we all sing the Jagged Edge song, Let's Get Married, or what's the name of the song? Yeah, Let's Get Married. We sing that song, but we don't recognize the bars that this song is actually dropping. Okay? This song is actually, it could be a gospel song. Every kiss begins with K. Welcome in. Corey, what's happening? It could be, I was talking to this person and they didn't believe me. They probably still don't believe me to this day, but Let's Get Married is actually a song that teaches us about the harvest season. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, and then we will get up out of here. The words to that song are, meet me at the altar in your white dress. We ain't getting no younger. We might as well sing it. Let's get married. Yeah, let's sing it, right? Y'all know it, right? But it breaks down the steps that leads us to the harvest season. Everything joy, what's happening? It leads us to the harvest season. It says, meet me at the altar. Here's how you know that you are ready for the harvest season. Meet me at the altar. Altars are, it's a church thing. It's kind of my book. Okay, cool. Let's talk about it. At the altar, never has there been an altar built and something didn't die. In other words, two people go there, die as two people, and come together as one flesh. This is biblical. Okay? Right? And what tends to happen there is that we go there and we're saying my will and your will are both going under for us. We start to substitute you and I for us. Us is what matters. So we're going to meet at the altar. This is going to be a contract. This is going to be a covenant. This is going to be a verbal contract for some of us. Some of us, the piece of paper contract. Some of us in front of a minister. Some of us not, right? But this is going to be a contract. So we meet at the altar. Because we have to start to sacrifice what I want and what you want for what we want, or what the betterment of us is. Hello, pulpit. We start to sacrifice these things. So we meet at the altar, and it says, in your white dress. White is a symbol of purity. Are my intentions pure? Or am I just trying to get some? Are my intentions, my motives, my method of doing things, are they pure? So now I'm agreed to come here, and I've agreed to substitute my will for the will of the greater good of the relationship, and my intentions and my motives are pure. And it says that we ain't getting no younger. We might as well do it. This is logic being employed. This is logic leading us to a foregone conclusion. So then after I employ logic, I bring forth the logical conclusion, and now I can start to move with intentionality. If all of this time has passed, where we've done the dating, we've done the courting, we've done the spending time together, we've done the getting to know one another in the summertime, we've traversed all of these seasons individually and together. Now it's time for us to meet. And he says, I must confess. I've been feeling you all this while. I must confess. In other words, now I'm putting word behind action. I'm putting word in front of action, and I'm backing word up with action. I've declared intentionality. I made it public. That song is literally a blueprint on how you get to the harvest season. It's literally the blueprint to the long-term relationship. It's literally the blueprint to how it is that we get what we say that we want. But unless we are operating at the right time, in the right season, and finding the right person, we never make it to harvest. We're going to spend another winter focusing on the things that have died around us instead of the things that we can create. We're going to spend another spring out here showing off, getting ready for the summer. We're going to spend another hot girl summer. We're going to spend another hot boy summer. We're going to spend another summer. And then the fall time, once we recognize that it's too late to actually plant the seeds, we start this cycle of depression because we realize, or we start to think that life is starting to pass us by. But I'm here to tell you, when you're doing the right thing in the right season, you will eventually find the right people and person. But we have to correct and we have to transition the season. We have to transition the season because La Muñeca is in the building. When you start to find yourself in the wintertime, you show yourself in the springtime. Summertime, you start to narrow out and cancel the people that you don't need and that you don't want, the people that can't propel you or push you towards purpose. Then you are ready for harvest. And in the harvest season, you reap the harvest. There's no holes in my bag. I won't let one grain escape me. I won't let one grain escape me. Anything that's intended for me is coming my way because I've placed myself in the proper position, in the proper season to get what it is that I came for. Too many of us are missing the harvest because we have holes in our bag because we're not doing the work during winter. Instead, we want to spend all winter crying. We want to spend all spring getting revenge. We want to spend all summer forgetting about it or disassociating. And the fall time comes and it's too late. It's another blown New Year's resolution. Uh-oh. It's another, I'm never letting anybody this close to me again. Uh-oh. It's another people suck. Uh-oh. It's another you can't trust these types of people. Uh-oh. It's another season and another year of us doing the same things that we did the last year because we're operating out of season. If you want things to blossom in the spring, you have to plant them during the winter. In other words, I told y'all last week, the winter is where you work. The winter is where you work. Spring season is for showing and observing. Remember, you're showing who you are, but also you have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 2 hands. You should sense twice as much as you're speaking, right? So as much as you're showing the fruits of your labor, as much as you're showing the flowers that have bloomed as a result of the work that you put in during the winter, as much as you're showing that, observe twice as much. And that way we don't get scammed into a hot girl summer. We don't get scammed into somebody that's going to waste our time. We have to slow the vetting process down. And we can de-weed and we can prune. And then that puts us in position to receive the harvest. Questions, comments, or concerns, put them in the chat. Next week, we are going to continue this series, the Trust the Transition series, Saturday at noon. Next week, we should be back on regularly scheduled programming. We will continue and we will talk about styling, transition the style. A little preview, right? There's a difference between fashion and style, right? Fashion, I have all of the right threads. I have all of the Louis. I have all of the Christian Louis Vuitton. I have the Givenchy. I have it all. But if I put it together wrong, it doesn't make the outfit attractive. Now, does it? Next week, we have to talk about transitioning the